Hello there. Welcome. Well, here it is Friday, and I'm prepared to tell you one of the worst stories I have. And I'm not sure how many people know this story. It's pretty awful. I have told it to other people. And I hope you'll forgive the language, but I'm going to use the actual language that was used on me when this happened. And I'm going to try to dive a little deeper into this story because I think I figured out why what happened. And I really am very thankful that I got to spend some time in prayer before I faced this down, because this was terrible. So, I was a young teacher. I was maybe 25 years old. I'd been teaching for a very brief time, and the state of New Mexico came up with an activity for high school freshman English that they wanted us to teach kids how to do job applications. So they added this element to the required curriculum in freshman English. Now, freshmen in high school have no skills, no past work experience, no education, and no accomplishments. So it was the perfect time to do this. Teach them resume writing and job interview skills. But if the state requires it, you do it. So there were added kinks to it. The first kink in the chain was we couldn't afford to buy a full set of these job workbooks for every kid to use in the school. So each freshman teacher got 30 copies that they could use in the classroom. But if the kids were to write on something, that you had to make Xerox copies and hand them out. So okay, I put the curriculum together. I put the material into my schedule, and I made these packets. And these were very exhaustive packets. They had lots and lots of stuff that you had to put in them. But I felt like it was kind of a silly assignment. So I gave them the packets on a Friday, and I said, okay, I want you to try to fill out as much of this as you can. I'm not going to take it up. All I'm going to do is check and see that you've done it, okay? So you guys are going to keep this because this is material that you'll need. And as long as you've tried to do it, anything that's missing is fine. You'll get full credit. You just need to try to get it done and bring it with you on Monday. Now, this was before I had other things worked out and how I did scheduling and stuff like that. But that's what I did. I handed it out on Friday, and they were to bring it on Monday. Actually, they were to bring it on Tuesday, because on Monday we were going to have parent-teacher conferences. And so I figured that long weekend, on Monday, they could work on that while they were waiting for their folks if they had to come to the conferences. Because sometimes kids were, sometimes parents required their kids to come along. Not always, but sometimes. So, at the time, I had just moved back in with my mother because I was saving money so I could go and get my master's. And so I was staying at my mother's house, and this was in the days before cell phones, and everybody had a phone book. Everybody in town had a phone book. So if you knew how to spell somebody's name, you could basically find them in the phone book and call them. And for some reason, Mother wasn't home that evening. It was just me. And the phone rang, and I answered it. And this woman's voice said, "Who you fucking now?" Oh, what? Who you fucking now? That's what I want to know. You want to know who I'm fucking? I want to know who you're fucking. And I was like, I think maybe you have the wrong number. And then she said, no, I know who I'm talking to. And she said my name. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what was going on. I am the squarest person you've ever met, okay? In my 20s, on a Friday night, I was home preparing school stuff. And this person calls and asks this question. And so when she identified herself, I said, I don't know what this is about. What are you talking about? And so she said something about she was one of my students' mothers. And she said that I didn't have any right to know who she was fucking. I didn't know what to do. So for one of the first times in my life, I very rarely did this, I hung the phone up because I didn't know what she was talking about. This is making me want to cry. So I called my principal and I said, something weird happened, and I thought you should probably know because we're having parent-teacher conferences on Monday, and this woman called me and said this to me, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And what if she comes to my classroom? What happens? Should I stay away? What should happen? And so he said, no, he said, you come on in, but you get in, when you get in first thing in the morning on Monday, you bring me the report card for the kid and bring it down to the office. And if the woman comes, you just tell her that I have the report card in my office. You don't have to meet with her. Well, that seemed pretty thin protection because, quite frankly, hello? Anyway, I went to school, I had parent-teacher conferences, and it just so happened that one of my friends, one of my fellow teachers, was in the room visiting with me when this woman showed up. And I said, well, the principal has your daughter's report card. And so she left because there was another person in the room, because I could tell she was loaded. She was ready to come for me. And I had these dreams about someone coming to school and attacking me and hitting me or stabbing me, that kind of stuff. I'm an imaginative person, and I was nervous. And so the second strange kink in this chain, I don't know if kink is a good word. Okay, anyway, this strange twist. The second strange twist was this woman's sister was also a freshman English teacher in my school who had given out the same materials that I had given out. And rather than call her sister and ask about this first, she just immediately attacked me. So, through some detective work and some intuition, I learned some things. But I will say this, that little girl was immediately removed from my class. Here's what happened. In this packet, it included all sorts of stuff. Stuff that would never be asked of students now, but this was a long time ago. It asked mother's name, father's name, social security number, birth date, where you were born, all of that stuff was in this packet. And it turns out the girl didn't know who her father was. And when she got this packet and she saw in their father's name, she decided to use the assignment to leverage her mother. Now, I'm not sure exactly what she told her mother. She certainly didn't tell her that they didn't have to fill out everything. And she certainly didn't tell her that they would get 100 even if it was incomplete. What she did tell her made her so angry that she called me at my private home and behaved in the manner of a monster. I think the young girl told her mother whatever she thought would work to force her mother to give up the information she wanted. I think she might have misrepresented to her mother that all of the information had to be complete, including the father's name. I think she might have misrepresented to her mother that I was a particularly cruel teacher and would punish her and flunk her for the class if she didn't get her father's name. I don't know this, but I think that's what happened. I just know that it had something to do with the fact that it asked the father's name. But the woman's reaction indicated to me that this was something the girl tried to do. To manipulate her mother through a homework assignment because she was 14 and stupid. And to fight with her mother in such a profound way that I got dragged into it. And then her mother humiliated herself and the child and, finally, her sister in the eyes of a fellow professional. After I had the dreams about being attacked by this woman, I prayed very hard to be courageous and to be strong enough that if this woman attacked me, I would not strike her back. I didn't have to be that brave because I think my Savior was generous enough to see my limits and to prevent me from having to go through that. Whatever it was. This is why I say to you, you must never ever become the tattletale for the parents against the child. Because that's you getting between the parent and the child, and that's the most dangerous place in the world. That relationship is sacred and you don't belong in the middle of it, even if a parent requests that you get in the middle of it. The only time you need to interfere in a parent-child relationship is if that child is being abused or neglected and you need to report it. But you are not to go throw yourself in between the two of them. That's not your job. Not legally, not ethically, and not for the sake of safety. It's dangerous for everyone involved. If somebody is feeling that violent about a family relationship, the last person that needs to be in the middle of it is some childless cat lady who's just trying to teach the kid how to apply for a job. Trained professionals need to be a part of that. And you need to make clear to your supervisors and to the counselors in your building what's going on. But you cannot get between those two people. Even the worst parent-child relationship in the world is not roomy enough for some English teacher. Now, people will object to me saying that because there's bound to be some English teacher out there that adopted a child or fostered a child away from a biological parent and it worked out beautifully. I believe those things happen. But I'm saying that's only by the grace of God, and that's a miracle. And only get involved in things when you know God is leading you there. Be sure it's a miracle. I hope you see me again soon, you gorgeous people.